Hey, what's up guys? We are doing the hard lines on the 64 Impala. We've removed everything. We had the dumps and everything that were on there, and we've done a video like this before, but where we were doing hard lines or kind of giving a brief description on how to do it. But this one's going to be a little bit more detailed and descriptive, and really breaks down how to measure and make your bends, and how to really make it come together. We built a vanity wall behind the pumps that is going to have what's called bulkhead fittings, to where one side is longer than the other, which actually, well, I don't have any I can show you, but basically it's a fitting that looks like this right here. It looks like this right here, but one side is much longer, and it allows you to put a nut on one side. So basically, when it goes through the wood, if it's sticking through, you got a bolt that screws on so it holds it still. Okay, so now before you make any kind of plans on how you're going to do hard lines, you have to go ahead and put your fittings where you feel they're going to be going. So you can't, if you don't know where the finish line is or the start, you can't even start. So in other words, we know that everything's going to be coming off of here and going to there, but we've already made this vanity plate and put the bulkhead fittings in there. Now the reason we've done this is because, like I said, you can't really start until you know where everything's going. So if this gives you a general idea, this is what it looks like. Now we've still got everything on there and it's not done, but the point is that all of these stick through and everything's going to align with them. So, and we've labeled on the back side of it where everything's going to go. So now if this gives you a brief idea on a separate piece of paper, what I've done is I've marked where each one of these, what from each pump fitting goes to. So for example, we know that the back pump on the bottom side of this one is the return. Okay, so we've got the return going right there. Okay, then on the next one we know that it's the pressure side, so we know it's going right there. So you'll see how it all comes together, but the point is, know where everything is going so it matches up correctly along the way. What's up guys? We're going to be finishing out this Impala's hard lines. We're going to do kind of a step-by-step on here. You know, one of the things that you should probably do is set you some templates for your 90 degrees and things like that. And what I mean by a template is what you do is you go ahead and mark, get some scrap pieces that you've got just laying around, or cut you some new ones, and put a mark on your scrap piece that shows where your bender actually starts bending. So to have a more precise, you know, hard line setup, that's what you want to have. So what I mean by that is take your hard line, just put a little line on there, and all this is to specifically tell you where your hard lines are going to start bending. So for example, with this bender, you'll notice that the line is right there, which actually I'm probably going to move this line anyway. So on the 0 mark is where it's going to start bending it over. So you want to have your lines right on that. So I'm going to move this line right quick. So you got your line right on the 0 mark, and then go ahead and bend you a template. to the 90, which this says a 90 on here, but I don't know if it's 100% a 90 or not, but you can kind of eyeball it the best way that you can. So that's a 90 degree right there, and this is a good template that you can line up with your other random pieces or where you're starting with in order to have your bends right. So let's say, for instance, you come off right here and this part's to the pump and you're needing to make a 90 to come straight down right here. Okay, well, what you want to do is take your template and your mark. So if this is your mark, you'll set it right here, and you see where I marked right here for your bend to start. So you can use this to go down to your pump if you need it. That's where this is going, this end is going. Then set it here, put you a line straight with this line, and now you've got a line that's going to tell you where to start bending to go straight down. So this template is just to be used to tell you where 90 degrees. You can also do other degrees, 45 degrees, things like that. You can set up whatever templates you want. But the point is that these lines, they'll tell you exactly where your bend is going to start, and the template itself is going to tell you where that bend is going to end. So if you're needing it to go straight down right here, you might have to back it up a little bit because you got your distance on your bend, which is on this one it's a 1.25 inches. So that kind of gives you a general idea. Alright, to show you how we did this exactly, we started with this one right here. Now, we measured, did all the bends and everything, how we kind of wanted it to look, and we started with this one. Now, after we figured out where we wanted it, how we wanted this set up, we then used it as our guide. So, and here's what I mean by that. The next one, after we did this one, the next one, we marked on the next one. You can see right there, a mark for our bends. So the bends were the exact same. These marks were where our bender started to make the loop. Okay, and you'll notice right there, there's a mark, there's a mark. And notice right there, there's a mark, there's a mark. Now once we got to right here, we had to improvise and change it according to the distance, the difference in distance. And what we did is after we made that first one, we measured the distance between hole to hole. So you measure in the center of that hole to the center of that hole, measure that, and then that is your difference in your length down. So what I mean by that is you've already made your bend right there. You've made this bend to go 90. Now this bend, I guess whatever it was, we made a mark right there. There's a mark right there. If you can see that right there. All right, so then we measured back from that mark. We went ahead and marked that mark on here. we measured it the same before bending it. We went ahead and marked it on this piece, but after that we backed it up the distance that we needed it to back it up to accommodate the hole difference. So we backed it up that amount of space, and then we made the bend. So that's kind of how that went down. Now on your actual bends that go to your fitting, once again, that takes a little bit of finesse as well, because you've changed it at this point. You can measure it right there if you want to, excuse me, you wanted to try to measure it right there if your stuff lines up that way, but ours did not. So we had to improvise. And by improvise, we had a 90 degree. So go ahead and stick this back on so you can kind of get an idea. What we had to do is we took our guide, alright, so we had to take our 90 degree guide that we made earlier, and we stuck it on here and to tell us where that 90 is going to end up. So we stuck it right here. We marked our line with the line that's on the 90, the template that we made, and then it goes to right here. So it lined up perfectly. So now a couple of things to tell you that will help. One, if you bend it incorrectly, like let's say that instead of it being straight, it went slightly this way, it's okay to hold it and just kind of push down to straighten this out. It is completely okay. This stuff will bend a little bit. Granted, if it's way off, you're just going to kink it. You need to start over. But if it's off by, say, a couple inches or something like that, you can bend it down to make it a straight line. That's the first thing to remember. The second thing, on your flare, you have to take into consideration your flare. Now, what I mean by that is that these flares take off about, I don't know, let's just say 1/10 of an inch, maybe something like that. 2 minutes left. Anyway, so when you're putting it on here and you're about to measure it, if you need to go in a little bit, remember the flare is going to draw you in slightly. Not by a lot, but it is going to be a little bit. So when you're measuring, you want to measure to after the groove. That's so if you're measuring to cut, you want to measure at the top of the groove. Alright? Alright guys, so here's the finished product right here. As you can see, it looks pretty symmetrical. It's very difficult to get the bends and everything to make it, you know, line up correctly. With this particular setup with whammy tanks, it reverses the sides that the pressure and the return are on. So like on this pump right here, you got pressure on the low side, return on the top side. On the other side, you have the return side on the bottom and the pressure side on the top. So, and it's not exactly the same length, which is the difference for down here. That's why it's not 100% symmetrical, but there's really nothing that can be done about it. So just take that into account. Try to do your absolute best to make it symmetrical. But if that... Alright, so one more thing to note. Before you get to bending all of your stuff, it's easier to work with if you go ahead and polish the hard lines with some sort of you know, polishing tools, and of course your compounds.
You can get these little kits online. You can get them at different places, but all we used on ours, because most of your stainless steel lines are already fairly smooth, so that they don't require a whole lot of sanding or anything like that. So the easiest way to go about it is to use a bench grinder with a buffing wheel, and just use the red is all we used, because like I said, they were already fairly smooth. To finish them off, you can use the white. I believe that's for the real bright finish. But anyway, you can also get the ones for the drills and things like that if you don't have a bench grinder, and just all you do is turn it on, get the compound on the wheel before you start, and then start grinding it, or excuse me, start buffing it down. Makes it extremely shiny, looks just like chrome.